And on set with me now is none other than Chief Chidi Ajaegbu. Chief, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me quickly correct you there. I'm not a chief. Maybe when I grow up, I'll become one.
Well, thanks for the correction, Chief.
Yes.
Sir, straight to business.
Yes, please.
Sir, you're an accountant, and you got into the apex of the career in accountancy. So, coming down to Abia State as an accountant, as a professional, what will you say is the major reasons why the state government is having problems paying salaries?
All right, thank you very much. You're very right. I'm a professional accountant, meaning that I'm a chartered accountant. And in 2015, I became the Golden Jubilee President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. And before then, I had served in several boards and councils of professional bodies, including Nigerian Stock Exchange, and also the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. So I have a very varied experience in terms of financial management, and I guess that question is well situated, with me in the studios. Essentially, once you have budgeting discipline, you're likely going to have dislocations in your cash flows. What has happened is that we've not taken our cash flow projections, we've not taken our budget seriously. In more saner environments, climes, budgeting is a very serious business. Meaning that whatever you say is your budget, whatever you have in your cash flow, you strive to achieve those figures. So if for any reason you vary your budget or you divert budget heads, you're bound to have dislocations in your cash flow. I think part of the reason why the state is having issues with payment of salaries is lack of financial discipline in the application of the budget.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, away from the salary issues, the Osoma FLYOVER, which is one of the major capital projects that the state has undertaken in recent times. And how would you assess it? You are from Osoma, and it's right in front of your domain. So how would you assess that FLYOVER in terms of economic advantages and infrastructure benefits to the state?
Well, if I was calling the shots, I would have done a couple of things differently. There's no need having a FLYOVER when you can't drive from Osoma to Cabra Market. I don't know how much is being spent on that FLYOVER, but I would have thought that it's more logical and that it makes more economic sense if we had focused on maybe, for example, dualizing the Cabra Osoma road. We could have even stretched it from that point to Orienta and empty the drainage into Imo River. We can dualize, for example, from that Osoma Junction, we can dualize road from there, past the Cabra Market, push it down, and then collect the water that gathers around those areas through a very effective drainage and empty that water into Imo River. There are several economic multiplier effects that could accrue from such a well-built road. First and foremost, of course, you would have that investment drawing people away from the congested Abia municipality, and encouraging people to start moving towards Orienta, for people from Abia to start moving towards Orienta. But once you have a good road network and infrastructure that is dependable, it has a way of drawing people from congested areas of a settlement or a city. Not only that, you would have benefited from the fact that movement to be a lot faster, reduced man-hour in terms of accomplishing tasks and targets. And then, of course, the capital market can actually now call for private sector participation in developing a capital market into a model market and taking care of, all stakeholders' interests in that development. And I'm sure you would have attracted a whole lot of people, coming to Cabra to, do business. People from Imo State, because we now have a good road connecting the Cabra, shutting down the long distance of going around. You now have, if you're coming from Owerri, you now drive straight from Owerri straight through Oba into a Cabra. That probably will save you close to about 30 minutes in your two-way journey from Owerri, for example. Essentially, I think there's a general lack of a very articulated and strategic developmental plan for the state. So a couple of things have been done to, impress, or if you like, play to the gallery. As we speak, like I drove past Osoma now as I was coming to this studio, I can't seem to see anybody walking in the so-called flyover. So what essence is it that you start projects and then you end up not completing those projects? I'm of the opinion, as an accountant, that before you get into whatever venture you want to get into, the funding requirement would have been clearly sorted out. So when you start, for example, to build a flyover, it doesn't take you years. Because if I want to build that flyover as a chief executive, if my money is not enough and I've made the investment decision to put a flyover there, I will have to, of course, clearly think through my financial decision as to how to fund it. If I have to borrow, if I have to cut back on some expense headings, if it's in the budget, I would have thought through that. What I think is happening is that we do a couple of things without necessarily looking at the financial implications, and then we end up having projects that are not completed and all of that. Specifically to answer your question on the flyover, I would have thought that I would have focused, if I'm the guy in charge, I would have focused more on trying to make sure that, that a Cabra summer road is made very motorable to actually encourage commerce, into that area, and of course grow the economic activity with the attendant multiplier effect of increased economic activity accruing from a motorable and accessible outlet or road to that part of the state. So I disagree entirely with the concept of building a flyover. Where are you flying to? There are no roads, so where are you flying to? So where? So I'd rather invest on tidying up the roads first, and then if you tidy up the road, the congestion you're trying to deal with essentially will be taken care of. Because what creates congestion, what creates a traffic flow that is essentially bad roads. If the road were properly done and taken care of, people won't slow down and start dodging potholes and all of that. So I think the primary focus should have been to take care of the roads, and then if you think you've taken care of the roads, in order to fasten the pace of movement in those areas and ensure that people are, you avoid traffic, you can then start building flyovers. You don't build flyovers on no roads. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. So I disagree with that.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Coming to your person now,
yep.
Sir. You want to vie for the senatorial seat of Abia Central?
Yes, I'm the incoming senator, you mean?
Incoming senator.
Yep.
So how would you rate the past and present senators that have, how would you rate their performance, past and present that have represented the senator as well?
Well, I don't want to get into rating because it will be subjective as it is. Yeah, considering that I have vested interest. But what I want to talk about and what I want to say is that you can't keep doing the same thing the same way for 20 years and expect a different outcome. Chidi Ajaegbu has been chief of staff for 8 years. He's been governor for 8 years. He's now a super governor for another 4 years. He wants to remain a senator and a super governor for another 4 years. I think the state needs to be given a break. And I think if we've done Chidi Ajaegbu for 20 years and we've seen the outcome, it's important, even about Einstein said it, it's important to try a different way of doing things, and let's also compare. I think we can actually better ventilate our potentials if a particular set of, just Okalo, everybody in the last 20 years has been a product of all this Okalo. And between you and I, we know that Abia State is not doing well, except if we want to tell ourselves, some lies to make ourselves happy, or we want to do some propaganda. But the key thing is that, if you ask me, we can do a lot better. DA cannot, be taken out of the state of development in this state, because it's been the pivot, it's been the hub for the past 20 years as chief of staff, as chief executive, and now super chief executive chairman as a point in the private sector. So if you ask me, I essentially think after 20 years we should try some other technocrats. We've seen what he can do, we've seen his contributions to the state development, and we know how far the state is in terms of ranking in the federation. So why don't we, he can't really, because he's been through the hub of the state, so to say, in the last 20 years.
Coming from that background now, is that the major reason why you are going into the race?
No, essentially, I have a different, take, as it were, as to how the state, what direction the state should move. Essentially, I believe the state has a lot of potentials. I've joined Abia, and I'm going to be Abia for life, as it were. My principal and my governorship candidate is Alex Oti. I believe Alex is going to bring to the state a varied experience that you can't match in the state. He was an executive director in First Bank. From there, he became the CEO of Diamond Bank. I don't have to tell you, if you look at the figures and his contributions to the bottom line of these private sector-driven organizations, then I think everybody in the state should actually be clamoring for him to be given a chance to try his bait. And aside from that, he has people like us who to look him in the face if he's misbehaving, to tell him that that's not what we agreed. So I think Alex's team presents essentially a very uncommon option for a state that has been more or less moribund, or has been declining for the last 20 years. I think he presents an option that we must all work towards, actualizing. I'm running for Senate because I think I'm better prepared to provide a lot more quality-driven representation for the Abia Central, good people of Abia Central. I know that I would attract projects because I would participate effectively. I will make myself relevant. I would ensure that the interests of the 6 local governments, Ikwan, Umuahia South, and Umuahia North, Isialawa South, and North, and Osisioma will be fully represented. We'll have a whole lot. Like the road I talked about is a federal road. There's nothing stopping me focusing on that as my constituency project. Since 700 million is allocated every year for constituency project, that project will probably cost effectively, without leakages and padding, it will probably cost about 2.1 to 2.4 billion naira. We can actually drive that. Because this is about attracting projects and making sure that the right laws are made, laws that will protect the interests of the people you are representing. And for you to be able to carry the cloud, you need to show that you're relevant. You need to show that you understand what you're doing. And I think I have the experience, to negotiate for projects to come into Abia Central.
Coming from that background, being someone with the prerequisite experience, and that's in the field of you've handled institutions, run institutions, and all that. Mm-hmm. You must have been aware by now about taking a study of the major problems that is facing Abia Central at the moment.
Yes.
And can you bring us into some of those things that you discovered as
essentially,
and how to go about
it? Very quickly. The rural roads need to be taken care of, and my plan, to deal with the rural roads. First of all, I understand very clearly that I'm holding the mandate of these 6 local governments in trust, and whatever income, whatever money that you're paid, it's actually the Commonwealth of these 6 local governments. We intend to, we've agreed that we intend to form create an account where this money will go in, and then appoint a management committee that will be populated by one person from each of these local governments to manage these resources. For example, we believe that rural roads to open up the rural areas for agricultural produce to come into the urban areas can be, it can be serviced by getting moving equipment that could actually be working, not necessarily by diesel and all of those are things that you can actually do from this Commonwealth fund to constantly, all year round, make sure that those roads are motorable. In terms of water supply, we've also, in our manifesto, we've shown that we can actually get these mounted drilling, borehole drilling vehicles, equipments, and get it for each local government. The Tokumbo is 12 million, brand new is 21 million naira, and within the space of 2 years, we can actually provide water to every nook and corner, cranny of the state. Of the 6 local governments. And how much is 12 million naira times 6? You're talking about 72 million naira. And if what they are saying is true, that they earn 39 million naira, even if you don't have money, you can actually take a bank loan for 6 months and domicile the process.
Yes.
To that bank loan to acquire those things. It's simple, it's not rocket science. It's the way to do it. It's very simple, it's not rocket science. I can bet you it is not rocket science. You come to electricity, a transformer is about 2.5, 2.6 million naira. You have about 63 to 64 watts in the whole 6 local governments. If you have that, and the transformer is 2.4, 2.6 million naira, there is no money. You cannot bring about 6 transformers and give it to the local governments. You can do it, and cumulatively over a period of time, you can actually electrify the whole 6 local governments. The boreholes you're digging, you hand over the management of those boreholes to the youth government in the villages. Every village has a youth government. You get a generator of 120, 150,000 naira. If that is not functioning well, you can also consider the issue of using solar panels to power the boreholes for places that don't have electricity. These things can be done. They are not rocket science. It's just that our people, the political leadership, haven't thought it fit. They've not recognized the fact that actually what you're doing is that you're holding people's mandate in trust. It is not, you are holding people's mandate in trust. It is not your money. The money is our Commonwealth.
You see, Abia Central has ecological problems.
Yes.
Yes, it's evident. This part of Umaya has a lot of ecological problems in this part of Umaya.
Further down to...
How do you intend to use the legislative platform that the Senate will provide?
You see, the committees you will serve in should be ordered by the problems you want to solve for your constituency.
You don't put yourself in a committee.
No, you can negotiate yourself in the committee, especially when you're voting for the principal officers of the Senate.
Is that the practice?
No. Well, it can be negotiated.
Okay.
It can be negotiated. If, for example, you're a senator and the Senate presidency has been zoned to your place and you're interested in being the Senate president, I can say, look, listen, I'll give you my support. But what do I get in return for my people? Will you put me in the ecological committee of the Senate?
Okay.
Will you put me in this committee? Because you can actually be in 5, 6, 7 committees at a time. I've seen people who are in 7 committees. So if we agree, for example, I'm just giving you, that's one way. We agree that yes, you put me in the ecological committee, I will give you my vote to become a principal officer. If that doesn't work, I can also trade my vote with people who are maybe in works committee. You want you want me to vote for a project in your constituency, and I'll say, look, listen, I also have a problem. My people are suffering from ecological challenges. Let me put this particular project in the budget. You also vote for me. These things are discussed and negotiated. Once you go there to work for your people, it is a lot easier. But if you're going there to acquire wealth, to take care of hygiene factors, of course you need to tidy up with the hygiene factors before you remember that you're holding the mandate of your people.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
exactly.
Essentially that in itself becomes a major problem.
Finally, sir.
Yes.
your platform now, Abga.
Yes. Party Anyi. Your party self. Because truly, let me explain, what we don't understand about this platform called Abga is that we can't negotiate meaningfully for the presidency if we don't come collectively as a group. If the Southeast does not come as a group, we won't get presidency. If we're thinking strategically, everybody in the 5 eastern states should be Abga. Then we use that to negotiate for presidency. The West have shown that it can happen. The North every day shows it can happen. There's no way we're going to get the presidency of this country by, balkanizing our votes.
But within the states, the party is having some problems.
The party is not having any problem. It's all part of politics. We all know where the problem is coming from. And we read in the papers or in the media the other day that Abga vehicles have been painted in government house. We know that. That was in the press. So it's just politics. So we know where it's coming from. And we are also prepared. As a party, we are positioned. We're not very... We know what is happening. We understand that. So we know the people who are running for offices. We know those that are being used to destabilize the party in the hope that maybe...
That's the problem I was talking about.
In the hope that some of us will be frustrated. No way. We're here to stay. We're here to stay. We're going to court after primaries or going to court before primaries and all of that is not going to stop Abga from taking the state come 2019. And I'm inviting you to May 29th for the inauguration of the new governor, Dr. Anesoti. Yes. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. I'm inviting you.